Picture this. It's 2018, and a guy in a California garage is standing in front of a totaled Ferrari 458 he bought for around $80,000. A car that, fully intact, would have sold for close to $200,000. He's got a camera, a small crew, and an idea that sounds either genius or completely reckless depending on who you ask. The plan: fix it, film everything, and sell it for a profit. Simple enough. Except nothing about what happened next was simple. Because what started as a guy buying wrecked exotics turned into one of the most dramatic rises and complicated reinventions in automotive YouTube. We're talking business disputes, a fan base that went from a few thousand to millions, creative pivots that didn't always land, and a channel identity that's been pulled in about 4 different directions at once. Mat Armstrong's story is genuinely fascinating, and not just for car people. So let's actually break down how this channel went from a scrappy garage operation to whatever it is today, and what that journey tells us about the economics of being a car YouTuber in 2024. Before we get into it, if you're into the business side of YouTube, or just love car drama, subscribing actually matters here, because I'm going to be covering more of these channel deep dives. Hit the bell too, because the follow-up to this one is already in the works, and it connects to some wider trends in the automotive creator space that I think you'll want to know about. Mat Armstrong didn't appear out of nowhere. He was doing car content for a while before the channel really clicked. Early videos were lower production, the kind of content where you're watching someone genuinely figure things out in real time, which has its own appeal. He was buying damaged vehicles, working on them himself or with help, and documenting the process. Not unlike a lot of other channels doing salvage rebuilds at the time. But the differentiator was the price point. A lot of salvage rebuild channels in that era were working with $5,000 to $15,000 cars. Mat started pushing into territory that felt more aspirational. Wrecked Porsches, damaged Range Rovers, eventually Ferraris and Lamborghinis. And there's a simple psychological reason that works so well on YouTube. People who will never own a Ferrari can still experience the fantasy of rebuilding one for a fraction of the cost. You're watching someone do the thing you've always thought about doing. That's a powerful hook. The channel's growth from roughly 2018 to 2020 was significant. He crossed 1 million subscribers during a period when automotive YouTube was genuinely booming. Hoovie's Garage, Tavarish, Whistling Diesel, a whole ecosystem of car channels finding their audiences. Mat's niche was cleaner than some of those. Less theatrics, more process. You watched him source a car, tear it down, figure out what was actually wrong with it, and put it back together. And importantly, he was selling these cars. This wasn't just content for content's sake. There was a real business underneath the channel. And that business was buying wrecked exotics through salvage auctions, primarily Copart and the AI, doing cosmetic and mechanical rebuilds, and flipping them. The channel documented that business, which worked fine until the business itself got complicated. Here's where it gets more interesting. As the channel grew, so did the infrastructure around it. Bigger operations need more capital, more staff, more space. At some point, and the exact timeline is a little murky depending on which source you're reading, Mat became involved with a production or management company that was reportedly supposed to help scale the content side of things. This is a pretty common situation for mid-tier YouTubers hitting that 1 to 5 million subscriber range. You're doing well enough that outside money or partnership looks attractive, but you're also at a size where losing creative control can genuinely tank what made you successful in the first place. A lot of creators have walked into those arrangements and come out the other side with mixed feelings, to put it diplomatically. According to commentary from Mat himself in various videos and community posts, and he's been relatively candid about this, which I respect, there were tensions around the direction of the channel and the business. Without getting too deep into specifics that I can't independently verify, It appears there were disagreements about what kinds of cars to buy, how to monetize, and how much editorial control Mat had over his own channel. If you watch the channel chronologically, you can actually see the shifts. There's a period where the production value jumps noticeably. More polished edits, different thumbnail styles, a slightly different energy in the presentation. That tracks with outside involvement. And then, there's a period where things feel a bit unsettled, where the content cadence slows down and the types of cars being featured change. Around 2021 and then into 2022, there were reportedly some legal proceedings connected to the business arrangement. Though I want to be careful here, because the details that circulated online were often secondhand or incomplete. What does seem clear is that Mat went through a period of significant business disruption that affected the channel's output and focus. The subscriber growth during that stretch was slower. The engagement on some videos dipped. For a channel that had been building serious momentum, it was noticeable. What's interesting is how Mat communicated with his audience through all of this. He didn't go fully dark, and he didn't do the thing some creators do where they post a vague, "I've been going through some stuff" video that explains nothing. He was fairly direct. Maybe not about every legal detail, which makes sense, but about the general state of things. And that transparency, even when it's incomplete, tends to maintain trust with an audience that's been following you for years. The people who were there from the early rebuild videos weren't going to jump ship because the channel had a rough patch. That kind of loyalty is actually really hard to build and pretty easy to destroy. And Mat seems to have understood that. Now, the more recent evolution of the channel is where things get genuinely complicated to evaluate. Because Mat has clearly been trying to figure out what the channel is now, that some of the earlier business structures have changed. There's been a pivot toward higher profile cars, more Rolls-Royces, more ultra-luxury content, the kind of vehicles that get clicks based on the badge alone. That's not necessarily a cynical move. It might reflect what's actually available to him now, or what his audience is responding to, or both. But it does feel different from the era where the appeal was partly the underdog scrappiness of rebuilding a wrecked Ferrari in a garage. He's also experimented with different co-hosts and collaborators, which has had mixed results based on comment section reception. Some of the more recent additions to the on-camera team clearly connect with the audience. Others feel like they were inserted to appeal to a demographic that wasn't already watching. To put this in context, basically, every major salvage rebuild channel has had to answer the same question at some point. Do you stay in your lane, or do you evolve? Tavarish went from Craigslist project cars to buying genuinely rare exotics and doing it in a more editorial style. Sam Crack kept a tighter focus on the process and the economics. Neither approach is wrong. They're just different bets on what your audience actually wants. Mat's bet seems to be that the luxury angle is where the ceiling is highest. And from a pure business standpoint, he's not wrong that a video about a wrecked Bugatti gets more initial clicks than a video about a wrecked Chevy Tahoe. The question is whether you can build a sustainable channel identity around that, or whether you're constantly chasing the next flashy car just to maintain numbers. There's also the YouTube algorithm angle, which you can't ignore. The platform has shifted significantly since 2018 in terms of what it rewards. Shorts have changed viewer behavior. Longer videos need strong retention curves to perform. The thumbnail and title game has gotten more competitive. Channels that built their audiences in one era of YouTube are having to adapt to a completely different environment in terms of how content gets discovered and watched. Mat's thumbnails have gotten more clickbaity over time. That's just true. Whether that's a strategic response to algorithm changes, or a reflection of the production company influence, or just general drift in the automotive YouTube space, it's hard to say definitively. Probably some of all three. On the legal side of things, and again I want to be appropriately careful here, what appears to have happened, based on publicly available information and what Matt has discussed on the channel, is that the business partnership situation eventually resolved in a way that gave Matt more control over his operation again. The specifics of any settlements or agreements aren't public, as far as I can find. What is public is that the channel is still running, Matt is still in front of the camera, and the subscriber count as of 2024 is somewhere in the 3 to 4 million range depending on when you're watching this. That's not a channel that fell apart. It's a channel that went through serious turbulence and came out the other side, which is actually not the most common outcome in situations like this. So where does that leave things right now? Mat Armstrong's channel is in an interesting middle space. It has a genuinely large and loyal core audience. The production quality is solid, the cars are legitimately impressive, but the channel identity feels like it's still being figured out. Is this a business-focused rebuild channel, a luxury car showcase, a personality-driven entertainment channel? The answer matters because it affects everything from sponsorship deals to what kind of viewer you're optimizing for. My honest read is that the next 12 to 18 months are going to be pretty telling. Either the channel finds a clearer identity that re-energizes the core audience, or it continues drifting toward a more generic luxury car content format that has plenty of competition. The raw ingredients for something great are still there. The question is execution. What's genuinely interesting to me is that Mat Armstrong's story isn't really about cars at all. It's about what happens when a creator-led business gets complicated by outside money and outside interests, and then has to rebuild itself. That's a story playing out across YouTube right now in a lot of different niches, and the automotive space is just where it's most visible because the dollar amounts involved in the actual product are so high. Next video I'm putting together looks at a similar dynamic but from a completely different angle. How certain car channels have actually used legal trouble and controversy to accelerate their growth rather than slow it down. Worth watching if this one landed for you. If it did, the like button genuinely helps this content reach people who'd be into it. Subscribe if you want to see that follow-up. And the bell means you'll actually know when it drops instead of stumbling across it 3 weeks later. Appreciate you watching this far. See you in the next one.